Hey everybody, we're live. Welcome to the show. This is Records We Love. I'm Gareth Davis in LA, and I'm going to be joined by my good pal Percy. Percy, are you there? He's also in LA. Hello, Percy.
How you doing, Gareth?
I'm all right, mate. How you doing?
Doing great, mate.
Doing great. So, what are we going to talk about tonight, Percy? I think we're going to talk about music, right? We're going to music. We're going to talk about records, and we're going to
Beautiful
talk.
vinyl.
Yeah, we're going to talk about vinyl. Yeah, hang on. My messages are messed up here. Here we go. There he
And
is.
just
There he is.
there he is. And just good music all around, my friend. That's what we're going to give the listeners tonight. It's just if you're tuning in from the East Coast, if you're tuning in on the other side of the globe, just going to be some good tunes, good reviews, some laughs amongst two good friends, and buckle up, enjoy the ride.
You're listening to Antonio Bay. Remember The Fog? Remember that movie, The Fog, with that chick? Remember that? You're listening to Antonio Bay. Oh fuck, there's fog coming in.
Oh, the fogsters.
All right, let's get things rolling. Let's talk about our first record. You want to go first, Percy?
You know what? I'll kick it off, man.
All right, go ahead. Pull it up.
My first record, it means a lot because it was one of those records that was sitting in mom's record collection as a young lad. And I would go in there thinking, this is the 80s, right? It's the 80s we're talking about. So records are everywhere. They're in everybody's living room. They've now made it to the mainstream, right? Where we now see these hip hop kids mixing records, right? So my mom, of course, she has her collection, and I think I'm Mr. Scratch Guy over here, Mr. Turntablist. Not at the time, my friend. About 7 years old, 8 years old. And of course, one of the first records I go to because I just remember seeing a lot of this guy's comedy everywhere. And it was Eddie Murphy's.
Dude.
And what was crazy about it was that it's actually signed by him
Shut
to my mom.
Are you wait. Are you kidding me? He signed it?
Julieta, love Eddie Murphy.
That's very interesting because his handwriting is exactly like yours.
Spot on. My right hand might be black.
You never know. So what? Tell me the story behind that. That's not his comedy? That's not one of his comedy records, right? That's like one of his.
No,
that's his music. His music is when he wanted to be like a serious musician for 2 minutes.
That's right. And he, the single from this album was "Party All the Time."
Yeah, that's right.
I just want to party all the time,
party all the time. Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
Man, so yeah, I mean, it was again this among so many other records, and I actually brought a couple of other records that are extras to add to the repertoire of this evening. I honestly just brought them because they have that same history, that same sentimental value. I was messing around as a kid, going in and thinking, okay, this is a turntable. These are some records. At 8 years old, 9 years old, I didn't know what it was. I was just put the needle on the record and make some noise. And little did I know, it was actually fucking up my mom's records, and she'd come in and get mad and say, "That's not messing with my shit."
Yeah.
Okay, many years later, I started really getting into music myself and being in band, and my mom saw that I was collecting music, CD tapes, CDs, had a couple of records here and there, and she gave me her collection, and this was one of the records that was in that, and it was one of my first records that I guess I didn't buy, it was handed down, but yeah, man, it's one of those that I'll put it on now. It's terrible. Yeah. Music is terrible, but I'll listen to it. I'll listen to it.
That's the great thing about having physical media, having like an actual album as opposed to streaming or downloading or whatever the case may be. Right. Actually physically having it. And with records also, there's always a story behind an album. You always know there's always a story of, you remember where you got it from. You know, whether you purchased it or whether you given it to it as a gift or you inherited it or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And there's a lot of tactile, emotional tied to it, right? And you don't get that with downloads and streaming. You really don't.
Yeah, and that's it's something that it's tangible. You can hold it, as you're listening to it. You're reading the credits on the back, who was in the studio making the music, where it was arranged, who mixed it, and I get that. That's on tapes. That information has been on tapes for years. CDs, the same thing, but
not the same, dude.
It's not. It's not the same.
Not the same as holding an album and putting your headphones on and holding the record. And like looking at the cover and reading all the liner notes while it's playing in your ears, pulls you in. So you appreciate the music far more than if you're listening to over your phone and Bluetooth or whatever.
Down to the smell. Gareth.
Oh yes,
the smell. Even old records have a distinct smell.
Let me ask you something. When you go digging and you go looking for albums, you buy albums, you take them home. Do you crack open the sleeve and smell them?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, me too.
Have to. And there's just a smell to that vinyl, to that material.
Yeah.
A record leaves that certain it's a distinguishable smell. It's like a book. It's like a pair of sneakers. It's like a pair of sneakers.
I do the same thing with books too. When I purchase a book, I'll crack open the book and I'll sniff it.
I do that with sneakers.
Yeah,
my thing is
when it's
sneakers.
new. When they're brand new, there's a very distinct odor, and smell is an important thing. It burns into your brain because you could be anywhere and you'll smell something and instantly you're right back to that exact moment when you remember where that smell was, right?
Yeah. It's so right. When I had the opportunity of digging in London, while I was out there for work a few years back, as me and you were working together at the time, but being able to go down into these basements where they have all these records, that smell, all right, it's a distinct scent to a room, especially a basement full of records.
Totally.
There, and you can spend hours in there. And I think that has to do with it, being in that. But that was my first choice. I felt Eddie Murphy coming with some 80s B-rated pop.
It's so weird though when you think about Eddie Murphy, right? I mean, the guy is a comedy genius, right?
Yeah.
He's done so many, like on Saturday Night Live, he was incredible. In the early '80s to mid '80s, he made some great movies. 2 amazing comedy albums, The Delirious, and those were released on vinyl. I never got them, but I remember a friend of mine had them on record, and I think I heard them on record before I actually saw the video, the performance, and that stuff still stands up today.
Yeah.
If you listen to that today, it still stands up. It's not dated. Well, it's dated, but it still feels fresh.
Right.
And it's amazing to me that somebody that talented with comedy, at the height of his professional career, where he can make any comedy movie, play any club. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll make a record like music.
Yeah.
It's like the kiss of death, right? I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, and maybe somebody told him, "Hey, man, when you're doing that, when you're doing those Michael Jackson jokes, you sound so much like him. You got a great voice. Why don't we try and put you on a record?" And that must have been where "How Could It Be" came to be.
Is that what it's called? It's called "How Could It Be"?
My friend, yep.
Let's see. Eddie Murphy, "How Could It Be"? On the back it says, "Who the fuck knows," right?
How could it be that I party all the time? I got money like that.
How could it be that I can make a record like that when I'm a comedian? I remember Bruce Willis did it too. I remember in the mid '80s when Bruce Willis was on Moonlighting. I don't know if you remember that show, Moonlighting.
No, I didn't know that he was.
That's how he got his big start. But he made I think it might have been right after Die Hard when he was starting to get really famous. He made a movie called a record called The Return of Bruno.
That's funny. I didn't know that. So you hear about it in right in the 90s, pretty much anybody who was a basketball star was
Uh-huh.
also trying to make
Make
a
a
hip
record,
hop
yeah.
album, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal did it.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Bryant did it. Um, I mean, the list goes on and on, you know. And it's crazy because you have these moments of these transitional periods where these artists or athletes want to take a a dive into music, and it's like, yeah, don't quit
Yeah.
your day job,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
Let's go and stick to that
Yeah.
profession that
Keep
you
putting balls in hoops.
yeah.
Step
Ex-
step step away from the microphone, please. Step
please
away. All right, I'm gonna bring up my first one now.
let's hear it.
I'm talking about records, by the way.
While he
Okay,
does that,
so
I'm gonna get going.
this is this is a double because there's a story here to this one.
Okay.
So this is when I was when I was a little kid, this movie came out that changed the world and impacted Western popular culture forever, and we're still feeling the reverberations of this movie. 35, 40 years later, and it's this.
Oh man.
Right now, this is the original Star Wars soundtrack.
That's awesome.
Right, it's original. I'll show you the double. So it's a double album. It came on 2 records, and it's got all these cool pictures
Oh,
from
man.
the movie in the gatefold, right?
Yeah, unfortunately the blur
Oh, yeah,
feature
it's
is
getting-
blurring
it's blurring
everything
it
out.
You can see it a
Yeah.
little bit.
Oh wow.
You see it?
Yeah. So
All that stuff.
that's pretty
And
cool.
it's on 20th century. It's on 20th Century Fox Records. So I guess the movie company actually had a
Record label.
record label. So
That is awesome.
so here's the deal. I didn't get this when I was a kid. So what happened was, in the Christmas of 1979, I was begging my parents to buy me this, buy me the Star Wars soundtrack. A friend of mine got it for his birthday, and I would go over to his house, and he would have this exact album, and I would get the album. I would look, and I'd be looking at all the photos, and we'd play it on his. And he had like a little shitty turntable. We'd play it, and it was like, oh, this is so amazing, you know. And I would beg my parents, please, for Christmas, please get me the Star Wars album, please. And Christmas morning, I wake up, and there, wrapped in the pile of presents, is something that looks like a record. You know, my little heart is beating. Oh my gosh, they got me the Star Wars record.
100 miles a minute.
So I get that, and I tear it open, and it's this. This is the actual record. This is the actual album that they got me that Christmas. This is the actual one. And what this is like some kind of bootleg ripoff Star Wars, right? Because if you notice on the back, it's got 2 on side 1. You have some tracks from Star Wars right here,
Right.
and on side 2 you got theme from 2001.
Oh man.
So I was very disappointed. I mean, I still played this like crazy.
Of course. Of course.
But I was very disappointed that I didn't get this, and it wasn't for many years later. I mean, I still can't. This album right here is very sentimental to me.
Of course.
You
Of
know,
course. Your
'cause-
parents got it for you. Your parents got it for
They
you.
got it for me, and when I was a little kid, and I still have it, and it's in mint condition. It's in very, very good condition.
That's awesome.
So this is the one I got, and then many years later, I bought this, which is the one I always wanted, the original Star Wars soundtrack on vinyl. And this one's in great condition too. But this is
It
not,
looks, you could tell it looks like it's in great
and
condition.
it is a first pressing. It is an original first pressing from 1977. If you notice on the back,
Yes.
No
No
barcode, no
barcode.
barcodes, ladies and gentlemen, no barcodes.
That's the
So
best. That is the
this is
best.
an original, but I bought it after the fact. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have had it as a little nipper, but
It's all right. You ended up getting it.
it was
What
not to be. But I did get it eventually. Yeah.
you know what's funny is that so I don't know if for any of you listeners, any of you people watching out there in video land, what I like to do is I like to keep a database for my records, right? And of course, why reinvent the wheel? Discogs, that's
Yeah.
Discogs. Discogs has a very good database. Allows you, it actually ties a value to your record, right? So once you purchase a record, you can bring up the Discogs app. You can scan that in from the barcode, of course, if it has a barcode, and
Mm-hmm.
then it will actually put it into a library for you in a database, and through your username, you can build your database, and it will show you a value. Um, One of the things I enjoy the most is when I go grab a record and I try to scan it into my library and there's no barcode there.
Yes.
I
No barcode.
love that shit.
Because you
I
know,
live for that shit.
yeah, you know that when you go there and you look at it, there's no barcode, you know that's original. That's like from because I think barcode started showing up around like 83, 84, and on.
Right, it was
So
80s.
so
Yep.
anything before like say 1983, 84, all everything that was released there was no barcodes. And if you can find a pristine album, no barcode, you're on a winner there.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next one, Percy? Let's take a look. What you got?
All right, so the next one was the oh man, it was basically the coming of age era for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this band, I mean, this band was just big in me almost on the time where you define yourself as an adolescent, where you start really to come into your own skin and really
Uh huh.
start to know what you have, the things that you like. And I'm not just talking about, oh, that's cool, I kind of like that. No, like, I like this is what I like, and I like it for X, Y. You're able to make your own opinions and
Yeah, yeah.
and build your own
You're
ideas
becoming
off
a
of it.
person.
Exactly. And um this song, because it's a single, didn't come out until about 98, but it was it's Rage Against the Machine,
Oh
No
wow,
Shelter on
dude,
45. um
is that red vinyl too?
that is red vinyl, sir.
Let me take a look
and
at it. Oh, nice.
and it was one of those records that is just the song is from the Godzilla soundtrack. And although that movie was trash,
Uh huh.
the Godzilla movie was the one with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I never saw it because I couldn't get through it. I even
Uh
tried
huh.
recently. Um, the soundtrack was amazing. I have never been able to find it on vinyl. This was the only song. Of course, it was Rage Against the Machine song, No Shelter.
Now,
Uh,
did you buy that record at the time or did you get it later?
I ended up actually getting it a few years later.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't released anywhere until a few years later, right around 2000, 2001.
Okay.
So a couple years after it was
Uh huh.
the actual pressing came out.
Nice. That's a great record. That's very cool. Godzilla. Godzilla.
Gojira! And
Godzilla.
again, man, that movie was trash, but that song, I know we said we're gonna baby choose albums,
Mm-hmm. No, that's cool.
but I felt
Yeah.
that just the song itself, because of the stuff that it says, the context and the words, the everything behind the
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
itself has nothing to do with Godzilla. It's
Godzilla.
talking, it's really talking about how the government pretty much the U.S. government at that pretty much goes into these countries and by way of disaster capitalism, and being able to launch their own types of their own food in these countries, the McDonald's and the Coca-Colas and
Uh huh.
and and that's what's inside these countries.
Well,
This is one of those.
it's cultural cultural brainwashing, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly,
mean,
exactly.
all these countries, the reason that they think the United States is so wonderful is through movies and McDonald's and
Yeah,
all the stuff that's being forced down their throats. So they
exactly.
think the grass is greener, right? So they want to all come over here and
And
make
they
lots of
talk
money.
about it, man.
Uh huh.
And they talk about it. That's what's so great about that song.
Yeah.
What's so great about that band, and having really have that band be an example throughout my I guess again childhood and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
adolescence, and not understanding a lot of it when I first heard it. A lot of it was the music side of things. I
Yeah.
I liked the heavy metal instrumentation with the raspy, hardcore, hip hop delivery of
Yeah.
Zach De La Rocha. It was one
Yeah.
of those things that's just amazing to me. But once I started to get older, and my dad would listen to the music I was listening to just to hear what I was listening to, and he would point out some things. He'd say, "Oh, he's talking about the struggles of the Chiapas down in southern Mexico. Read up on it,
Mm-hmm.
and like, well, how the hell does he know?
Yeah.
Why did my dad know about what the hell I'm listening to? That's not fucking cool." But he would say, "Hey, this is what he's talking about. Go do some
Yeah.
research, and
You're like, hey, you're older than me. How come you know more than me? That doesn't make
right?
sense.
The fuck, that dude,
Yeah. Come
you're
on.
you're old, man. I don't want to
Yeah.
mess with you."
Don't they know kids know better than older people?
Always, I got an
Always.
8-year-old who knows better than me.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. What's that old quote? I'm not young enough to know everything.
Not yet.
It's great. It's great. So let me ask you about Rage. Now that they're back together and touring again, what's your take?
Um, I guess for the nostalgia factor, I would love to go see them. Um, it's a little disheartening to see that what they're charging
How
to for the
what
tour.
are they charging right now for their
They're
tour?
they're, they're charging close to $350 to $400 for a ticket.
Like
You know,
nosebleeds.
nosebleeds $150,
Uh
$160.
huh.
That's still a significant amount of
Yeah.
money for any individual.
Uh huh.
I think especially for the majority of their fans are probably people who don't have that type of money to spare, especially
Yeah.
right now with
You
the
think?
current condition.
Well,
And you know, uh, it's disheartening to see them take that approach with it, and I get it. I guess the money has to be made on the back end for whoever paid for them to get back together.
yeah, but still, I mean, they're Rage Against the Machine. They're supposed to have like a vibe and
Yeah.
a an ethic,
Right.
but and then to go and do something like that, it's kind of disingenuous in many ways, don't you think?
Right. I think so. I would see them do what they did back in the 2000, the elections of 2000
Uh huh.
in downtown LA, where they came out and they just played for free
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in, in the center of downtown LA. No tickets sold, just hey, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rage Against the Machine had or no, I'm sorry, not Rage Against the Machine. Nine Inch Nails recently had a concert a couple years ago
Yeah. You went.
where
You went right. Like was it
yeah, and
2 years ago or something like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and they sold tickets at the Palladium. You had to
Mm-hmm.
go and stand in line at the Palladium the way you would back in the 90s
Right. Right.
before all of these apps took off.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is they sold you tickets for $75.
Uh huh.
That's doable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people can pay
Sure.
$75, to go to a show. Yeah, I had to stand in line for about 6 hours. You know what? The experience was fun. I don't mind that, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the point got put across to the uh, to the fans that hey, yeah, like doing it like this is fun. We appreciate the ease of use with these apps, but man, going back to that time of the 90s,
Yeah,
standing in line
Ticketmaster,
for your
man.
ticket.
Stuck outside
Yeah.
Ticketmaster, fucking
Warehouse.
Warehouse, fucking Music Plus. Remember Music Plus?
Oh my God, man.
Warehouse, Music Plus, standing outside to get your tickets.
Yep.
It's the only thing now is, I don't know if have you ever done Record Store Day, where they do Record Store Day, and they have a selection of albums that are, like, unique. They only come out on that day, and the only way to
Yep.
get them is to go to a participating record store and
Yep.
wait in line, cross your fingers, and hope that you get there in time to get the album or single that you want. Have you done that, Percy?
I have, but a lot of my record store days, because of the way the albums are distributed now, I like to just do it online. I'd rather take my chances online because there might be very, very few that are dropped off at my local record shop, right? And so I might have a better chance to buy it online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will I go to a record store on record store day? Yeah, I do. It's very rarely that I go to the record store to pick up a specific new album
I'm
for
the same
record store.
way.
I'll
the same
usually go just to benefit from the deals that they have,
Yeah.
the bargain bins and all of that stuff.
No,
But
I do the exact same thing. If I'm gonna buy a specific album, I'll just go to Amazon and buy it and buy the record.
right,
But if I still like going to record stores, but not to buy new stuff. I like going and looking through the used and digging through the bins, and
Yeah.
and finding these gems. These pieces of gold that are, like, buried amongst all this garbage, and you can find some incredible things just poking around.
yeah, and a lot of it can be, some people say don't judge a book by its cover. With records,
Oh, you
you
do.
you do.
You do.
If the cover of the record doesn't grab me,
Oh, totally. No,
it doesn't jump
I've
out at me,
I've
I'm
bought
moving on.
I've bought records that I had no idea what they sounded like. Like, never heard of the band, never
Yep.
heard of the artist, no clue what they sounded like, but it had an awesome cover.
Yep.
And I just bought it because it's like a real badass cover. And then I
And
go home and roll the dice.
And
And
nine
hopefully
times
it'll
out
be
of
good.
10,
It's
nine
good.
times out of 10
Yeah.
it is.
It's good.
It
You
is.
have a great experience. All right, who did you do? You just did one, right? So it's my
I just did my Rage
So
Against the Machine.
all right,
You
so-
hit us with your number 2.
All right, my turn. Here we go. So this one also has a very personal kind of deal. Hang on, let me fix this. So it's this. It's there you go. Look at this.
That's awesome.
It's-
That is so awesome.
it's,
Can I tell you something?
yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
I was this close of pulling that album from
Are
my
you serious?
fucking
You're gonna
collection.
grab it? No way.
And the reason why is because I knew you loved that album so much, so I wanted to kind of mess with you and just and I didn't know if you were gonna choose it. I just know you liked
Yeah,
that
it
album,
is.
and I was gonna say,
The
maybe
Pleasure
he'll
Principle.
laugh. That's awesome though.
Yeah,
That's
no, this
freaking awesome.
this album it's a classic.
It is. It truly is.
And this is, once again, this is first pressing, UK first pressing, original record on Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah.
And I was given this album when I was a kid, and I know who gave it to me. I'm not going to say who it was, but I do remember who gave it to me, but I don't remember why. It wasn't like, somebody says, hey, oh yeah, you can borrow it, go ahead. It wasn't like that. It was like, no, you can have it. And I'm like, seriously? Yeah, you can have it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And this kind of sparked got me into Gary Newman in a lot of ways, and now I'm a massive fan. Now I have all his stuff.
Yeah.
But this one got the ball rolling, and it really, really, really is a great record.
It is.
His inspiration for doing this album was because this came out in 1979. Punk was everywhere, and he was not a fan of the sound of guitars, so he wanted to make an album
Mm-hmm.
without using any guitar sounds whatsoever. So
Just
on this record there are zero guitars.
yeah, it's all synth,
It's,
right?
well, it's regular drums, a bass guitarist, and then all synthesizers. Um, truly good, groundbreaking too,
Yeah.
revolutionary. It changed
Yeah.
the way music was made. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, that's what I really found very interesting about that, because there are some of the sounds that are very of course they're synth. We could tell they're synth,
Hmm.
but they emulate some pretty gnarly guitar sounds. So there's some points where I'm like, was that a guitar?
Yeah,
But it's not.
no
It's
guitars.
not. Yeah,
And
that's what.
a lot of that stuff's been sampled too and used in a million
Oh
other,
yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
it's very unique and wonderful sounding. So yeah, so that was Gary
Did
Newman
you
and the Pleasure Principle.
didn't you see Gary? Is it Nightmare Air, a
Yeah,
band that you saw
yes,
when you
yeah,
went to go see Gary Newman?
yeah.
Right?
This was about. It must have been 2 3 years ago. No,
Yeah.
maybe longer than that. Maybe
Yeah.
4 years ago. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Maybe.
He played in L.A. Gary Newman and a band called Nightmare Air opened up for them. Never heard of them before. We went and I was blown away. They were great. Really amazing.
One of the greatest bands that I've been put onto recently is
Yeah.
that band. Yeah, they were really good. That's awesome. That's awesome. That also shows you when an artist can choose good openers,
Oh
right? Or
yeah.
or
Thank
or
you.
when they will co-sign an artist. That's what I like. That's what was always fun when going to a show and looking at the opener and
Uh
then
huh.
coming back and be like, oh man, who is that? Well,
Yeah.
let me check their stuff out now. Why'd they get chosen to play? So
Yeah, there's been a lot of bands like that have impacted me where I've gone to see the headliner.
mhm,
That's the drawer. That's what's pulling you in the door.
right,
And then some band or some artist will come out that you've never heard of, and you're like, wow, these guys are good. And then suddenly, the next thing you know, you're buying their stuff. You're into them,
yeah,
because they did such a great performance opening for whoever the headliner was.
right.
Same with Gary Newman and Nightmare Air. Nightmare Air was phenomenal. I went and got their stuff, and I know is that one of your picks?
No,
do you have the record there? Do you have
no,
it there?
no. Unfortunately, I don't. It was going to be one of my picks, but a lot of they were all sentimental, but
Okay.
sentimental picks.
All
Yeah.
right, let's see the
But
next
on
one.
that one,
What
yeah,
else you got?
yeah. So on the next one, man, this one. This album here came out when I was in sixth grade, okay,
Uh huh.
and I remember going to Kmart. Right, we didn't. It wasn't Target. Not going there. We were going to Kmart, and I remember I'd always love to go to the electronics section. It's
Oh,
just one of
dude,
my things, electronics,
dude,
and I still do.
I'm still the same way.
Yeah, still the same way.
Me and the wife will go to Target or something, and she's like, "I'm gonna go look over here." I'll say, "See you later.
Yep.
I'm going to electronics. Bye."
You know where I'll
Bye.
be.
Yeah.
Let me come
I'll,
get me.
I'll see
Come
you
get me when
later.
you're ready to
Yeah,
leave.
when you're ready to leave.
Come get me.
When you buy all that food bullshit, come get me.
Yeah, exactly. So, so of course, all the at that time it was tapes,
Uh
right?
huh.
Tapes are there. A few CDs here and there. Not really. A few records as well. I remember. So I go over and there's this tape, and I'm looking at the tape, and I'm looking at the cover. And I'm like, what is this? It's a cartoon.
Uh huh.
This is a bunch of dogs, and there's this dog who's on top of this doghouse that looks like a Snoopy doghouse, and he's reaching, and there's a half naked dog cartoon broad with her ass hanging out, and I'm like, who is this Snoop dog doggy style
Bow wow wow.
freaking? I'm like, I don't. What is that? And I remember my cousin talking about Snoop because Dr. Dre, and my
Yeah,
cousin
yeah.
was very big into hip hop. He was not much older, like 3 years older, 4 years older than me. So he was always into that scene, right? That was what was big when he was growing up, much older than me. So I'm listening to I'm listening to him talk about this Dr. Dre album and this guy Snoop, and so I see this album Doggy Style. There's you got
There
Snoop,
he is, man. Look how
and
dude.
like,
Look how young he is on the back of that cover, dude.
right,
Look at that. He's like fucking 12.
dude, it's crazy.
Oh man.
And yeah, man, it was one of those things where I literally bought it because of my cousin kind of talking about him, but the cover of the record, it was a cartoon, and it had this little dog booty right here. Booty right there.
Be honest. It was the dog booty that got you. Be honest.
It got me. It got me.
It pulled you in.
What do you want from me?
Hey,
what do you want from me? Lice?
Hey, I know you. You like tail. Say no more.
And so yeah, man. Popped it into my tape player, and I figured out that I knew nothing in the sixth grade. I knew nothing about fucking cuss words that I thought I knew until I heard that album, and I was introduced to a few new ones.
Did you get scared when you were listening to it? Your parents would hear it and be like, "Oh man, no."
My parents were flower children, very peace and love, and they were just kind of like, if you're not sitting there, you're not watching porn, you're not not listening to
my parents escaped from the compound when I was 8. And we ran away and we got away. We escaped David Koresh before they burned down the building. So they were cool with Snoop Dogg.
Well, they couldn't tell, like they couldn't. I wouldn't bump it too loud, and it wasn't. They didn't really care too much about like stuff like that.
That's
I
awesome.
guess. Yeah, it wasn't. They were always very open about music and stuff like that. So, yeah, man. I remember just listening to him from that. Sixth grade was kind of my real, really diving into hip hop, and from there it took off because the West Coast was really doing a lot. Dr. Dre, Snoop, NWA. That had I started do a little bit more digging, and then Ice Cube started going more towards Ice Cube.
It was the golden age. It was the golden age.
Exactly. And then from that point, I really started listening to the Wu-Tang and the other band and the other hip hop groups and bands that would later influence me to really adopt the culture of hip hop into my lifestyle. Where it wasn't just I'm into it just because it's cool right now. No, it's what I really
are.
Yeah, exactly.
It became a part of you.
It is, and it still is to this day. I will always love hip hop.
When did you you said you got the tape when you were a kid, when you were at Kmart, but when did you actually buy the record, when you got the album? When was that?
Actually, this was
2 weeks ago. No.
Almost. No.
Are you serious?
It was not 2 weeks ago. Probably like within the last year.
No way.
Yeah, like maybe 9 or 10 months. It was released on Vinyl Me Please.
Oh yeah. Right.
They released it, and I have singles from the album. Like I have singles on vinyl
Are you still a member of that thing, the Vinyl Me Please deal?
I actually slowed down on that for a while just because of
the expensive,
the whole situation. I really did like it from a music connoisseur, because I am not just tied to one genre, right? I can. One of my choices tonight was going to be a neoclassical artist because I wanted to showcase the diversity of music that I listen to, but I ended up going with what I went with. And then I'll save that for later. But yeah, that's one of the things. It's just you just gotta be able to listen to everything, and Vinyl Me Please brings that eclectic, broad sound, but then it does cost a lot of money, and that I am not trying.
What do you get? You get was it like a record a month or something? You pay them, I don't know, is it $25 a month or $50 a month, and you get like an album or 2 albums a month. But
So
you don't choose though, right? They send you like whatever they have scheduled to come out. Their special editions. Is that right?
that's accurate. So what they will do is, for $29 a month, they will send you a record, right? It's, let's say, like this one,
Uh huh.
Doggy Style,
Yeah.
comes in a nice, cool.
It's all
Uh,
it's all deluxe, right? It's not just
it
some piece of
is.
shit. It's like legit.
It
It's
is.
very very well put together. The whole deal.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
actually comes with a print that you can, that's a special limited print for that release. And then they also give you um, a recipe for a drink that you can make. And
Oh,
as you're listening to the album,
you can drink the drink.
yeah, exactly. It's an alcoholic beverage. So,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, that's pretty cool. And so what they started to do, that's how it started at first. I think I came in on about album number 4 or 5, maybe. And what they used to do before was just a random record that they
Like,
would release, and you didn't know what you were gonna get. Then they started to release these other sections. So what they did was, like, they have a hip hop monthly. So
mm-hmm.
you can have your regular subscription, and you can add a secondary
Ah,
record, which is, it'll always be hip hop, and
right, right.
it's a new hip hop album, and that costs you an additional $20 a month.
Uh huh.
And then there's a third one, which is classics, and they send you classic jazz, classic
Right, right.
R&B, classic blues, and that's an additional $20 a month as well. So,
So basically, you after a while, it's to get the records. It's basically like a car payment, right?
exactly, exactly. You're having to pull out a
Yeah,
secondary on the mortgage.
it's a car payment just to get these albums. But I know that these albums they're very high quality. They're all very well put together. The packaging, the artwork, it's all done to a very high standard. It's not like just some slapped together bunch of bullshit. It's very legit, right?
Right. And then some of these albums, Gareth, they will go for, hundreds of dollars in the aftermarket,
Uh
because
huh.
Vinyl Me Please will only press up their run.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if you are not a member and you didn't get it, you didn't get it.
Uh
And
huh. And that's
they
it.
may press it up again, they may not. There have been releases that they only pressed up 1,000 releases. They sold,
Uh
the
huh.
1,000. If you made it there in time, they sold it for $30. And then you go to eBay 2 hours later, and there it is for $300,
Wow.
$250, just because it's a Vinyl Me Please limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And you
they've
can't
built
get it anymore.
yeah, exactly. They build up their repertoire. They're one of the albums that I have. The first one's is Mad Villainy, right? The
Oh
Mad
yeah,
Villainy
yeah, yeah.
album. That album, it goes for like $150 on eBay, and the price is inflated just because it's a Vinyl Me Please, and it was
Mm-hmm.
one of their first ones. And you know, um, yeah, man, it's crazy how these things go up. You
That's
know.
crazy.
What about yours? What's yours? What's your next one?
Um. Let me think. I
Hmm.
I have so many to choose from. No, I should say though, seriously, doing this, picking like 5 albums to go over tonight, has been very, very, very difficult.
Challenging.
Oh, dude, and even though the ones that I chose, and I'm second guessing myself, thinking, should I have picked this? I don't know, man. Maybe I should have picked something else. But it is what it is, and we'll come back next week and go through different ones or whatever.
Yes, we will.
We'll keep the ball rolling. So my next album is this one. This is Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Rattlesnakes.
Hmm.
This is once this is also it's got a barcode. So this was in the mid '80s. This is 1984. This is once again first pressing, UK first pressing, Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. This was kind of a folksy kind of, I guess you'd call it folk rock.
Interesting.
And when this came out, I discovered this there was a video that would play all the time for the song Rattlesnakes. And I loved the vibe of the song, and I bought the record, and that got me into to Lloyd Cole. And I've been a fan ever since. I have all his stuff, all his with the Commotions and his solo work. And I'd never seen him in concert until about 2 years ago when he played L.A. He played in I'm brain farting on the place, but a real small venue. Real small. There must have been only maybe 100 people there.
The Echo?
No, it was. I'm losing my mind. I can't remember.
That's all right. It's all right.
But it was a really small venue. The wife and I went there, and my wife had no clue who Lloyd Cole was. No clue.
I know.
And
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, and it's such a lovely door. I love the door. Look at the door. Look at this lovely. But I went to see him, and it was a pure acoustic set, and I wasn't expecting that. It was just him and an acoustic guitar, and he played for an hour and a half, and it was just
that's awesome,
amazing, absolutely phenomenal.
How did you hear about him?
I think what did I get? I think my wife found out about it because she knew that I was a fan.
No, how did you hear about Lloyd Cole? How did you get?
Oh, originally?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, there was a video. He had a video for his Rattlesnakes, which was a big hit in the UK, and the video would play all the time on MTV and stuff in the mid '80s.
And that was just
yeah.
Suck you in.
I like the vibe of the song,
awesome.
and I bought the album, and here it is, Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, Rattlesnakes.
That is so awesome.
And you know what's crazy, dude? This record. Even though this is 35 years old now or something like that, when you listen to it, it literally could have been recorded last week.
That's because it was analog.
Yeah.
That's because that sound, man. If you used,
it could have been recorded. No, not just. Yeah, you're right. The sound is phenomenal, but just the style of music and the vibe of the lyric and everything. It's like, I mean, he was ahead of his time in many ways.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, well, my dear viewers, you can go on to iTunes or Stitcher or not Stitcher, Spotify or whatever it is you consume your music from, and just search for Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, and all of his stuff is on there. But this album is Rattlesnakes. It's a great record.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, I think you'll like it, dude. I think you will. What we got next? What's your next nugget of musical wonderment?
Another one that actually comes from the inspirations of my pops.
Uh-huh.
I was always inspired by what he listened to as well, because my mom was into rock and roll. She was into Pink Floyd. The Rolling Stones are her all-time favorite band. That to her is the greatest band ever. Right? There is no.
You know what's crazy about the Rolling Stones? Hang on, I'm just pouring a beer. Give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
I should do this like on. I should do this on the telly. Shouldn't I? I should do it on the telly with Percy. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I'm opening a beer.
Great,
look
mate.
at it. Look, it's brilliant. Look at that. It's amazing. It's like new technology.
Right, it's that 805, mate.
Yeah, 805.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
And I got a British pint glass which I stole from a pub over there because they're bastards.
Did it come back with you? Did it cross the pond?
It did, yeah. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look how fucking.
I'm over here drinking water. What's wrong with me?
Look at that.
Yeah, that does look nice. That looks nice.
Delicious. Well, cheers, dear boy. Cheers. Cheers.
We will cheers, even though it is water.
Cheers. Get it down your neck, you bastard.
So yeah, man, this next album, not only is it on one of the, to me, one of the coolest record labels
Of all
ever.
time.
Yeah, it's a really good record label. They always put out
Uh huh.
quality music, but um, Willie Bobo,
Willie Bobo.
are you familiar?
I'm not.
Okay, Willie Bobo, right around the time of Tito Puente,
Uh huh.
Celia Cruz,
Uh
a
huh.
lot of those.
Hey, wait, 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 wait,
Af-
wait. How come you say with that funny voice when you say that? How come you don't say it normal?
Porque cuando yo hablo español, me sale un poco de español. Y tú, mi amigo, vas a tener que aprender y entender. Nah. Um, yeah, Willie Bobo actually, yeah, he's Afro Latin musician, Cuban. And yeah, it was just sounds that were constantly being played
Mm-hmm.
in the house,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I remember when I would hear it, I would think, why is my dad listening to this fucking weird ass shit? Like, why the fuck is this dude like? Why do you think you're
I
Cuban, B? Why do you think you're Cuban? But yeah,
I can totally relate, man, because there's many artists that my parents used to listen to, and excuse me, and at the time when you're a kid, you're like, what is this bullshit? What is wrong with you? This is garbage. This music is so shit. What is wrong with you? And then you fast forward 30 years later, and you hear it again. You're like, oh, you know what? That's pretty good. you
I
know?
would hear, I would hear "Wish You Were Here"
Oh
when I
yeah.
was a kid,
Uh huh.
and I thought, what the fuck
Yeah,
is
yeah.
this
What is it? It's crap,
bullshit?
right? Absolutely. And you know,
I
you
listened to it 2 weeks
now, and
ago.
it blows your
I
mind, right?
Hey, it fucking made me cry.
Yeah.
Fucking tears
No,
dropped down my face
dude, can
on
totally
some
relate.
serious shit, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like to a song like that,
dude.
that's
Wish.
such a beautiful
Oh, it's
piece
amazing, amazing.
of
But
music.
it's weird. You mentioned the Rolling Stones, right?
Hmm.
And throughout my entire life, I always thought they were crap. I never liked them. And about maybe 5 or 6 years ago,
Hmm.
I heard one of their songs on Spotify, I think,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Now I can't get enough of them. Now
Dude,
now I'm like, they're amazing,
they are.
amazing.
They are.
But you see how over time,
Yeah,
you,
it took a
it's
lot.
like
It took a long time for you to
your
like.
mind your mind catches up.
Yeah,
Over time
yeah,
it catches up to when you hear it the first time. You're like, "What is that shit?"
yeah.
It's the same with like like big band like Frank Sinatra and stuff like that,
Yep,
and Tony Bennett.
yep.
I remember as a kid listening to this and hearing and thinking, this is absolute shit. Why would anyone listen to this garbage?
Yeah.
Now, as an
Hmm.
adult listening to it,
It's the
it's
best.
it's amazing.
It's
It's
the best.
absolutely incredible.
Have you ever heard Richard Cheese?
No, I have not. No.
Richard Cheese does a bunch of new metal songs in
Oh
with
wait,
the big
I
band.
I think I
Like,
have. Yes, yes.
you want your mother
Right.
get up, I
Yes.
want get down with the sickness. Your
Yes,
brother
yes.
get up. That song is
Oh,
Richard
ah, ah,
Cheese.
ah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, ah, ah, ah.
And
Yeah.
that you're right. You're right,
Uh huh.
Gareth. It's a thing where it's like you catch up, and
Yeah.
there's certain things that certain
For
genres
sure.
of music, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
Willie Bobo, the whole Latin jazz, that Caribbean jazz, all of that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't appreciate as a kid, and I grew up around it, and it wasn't until later on
Right.
in
Right.
life where I really got into it. This album, I didn't get it from my dad because he would listen to a lot more tapes. He didn't have a lot of records. A lot more of the records were my mom's. He'd listen to a lot of tapes and then got into CDs.
Yeah.
So this album I actually purchased, God, I don't know, just in the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
maybe last 3 or 4 years. Um, but it's just a really good album to listen to. It's just uno, dos, tres, 1, 2, 3. For all you cats listening out there, check it out, man. Definitely throw it on. If you're so inclined, spark one up, have a drink, and let your mind go. It's a great album.
Willie Bobo. Yeah, I will check that out for sure. It sounds
Mm.
very interesting.
And I will give you another little piece of
Uh-huh.
another little
What you got?
nugget of information.
What?
His son is
Okay.
the percussionist for nice. Hope he doesn't hear this. His son is the percussionist for Cypress Hill.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I years ago when I worked at Tower Records, the guys from Cypress Hill used to come in all the time, and Los Lobos
Then I'm pretty sure
all the time.
I'm pretty sure his son was
Uh-huh.
with them when they were in there, because
Yeah.
he's been their percussionist
Me and his
for
son of
years.
Buds.
Yeah, hey, you guys hang out. You guys go way back. I know, I was there.
Yeah, man. But it's so true, dude. There's so much great music out there that when you're a kid or when you're growing up, you simply don't realize. You don't realize until you get older, and then it just kind of clicks. You're like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you were saying about "Wish You Were Here," Pink Floyd.
Oh.
That song is so powerful.
Yeah.
But your mind has to be at a maturity level where you get it, where it clicks, and you're like, where it just washes over you. You have to be in the right frame of mind. Like "Comfortably Numb" is another one.
Oh my God! What a beautiful song, dude. These are beautiful.
Is you. I mean, I remember driving home from work one night, and I had my iPod on shuffle, and "Comfortably Numb" came on, and I cranked it up, and literally I had tears in my eyes. Like the emotion just washes over you. It's such a powerfully amazing song.
It's so crazy how there are just certain bands who are able to put out that level of music, like that type of art, to that level. Like other songs, they're good.
Yeah.
Like "Stairway to Heaven's" a good song.
Sure.
And a lot of people like say, "Oh my God, "Stairway to Heaven" is this, that, and that." Okay, it's a really, really good ballad, but man, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe I guess there's a connection to it because of my family, with my mom and that whole thing.
It's a connection to your soul, dude.
Yeah, I guess so. Like,
because when you listen to pieces of music like that, you're not just listening to it, you're feeling it.
Yeah.
You feel it. You feel the music.
The Great Gig in the Sky.
Oh,
what a fucking
amazing!
What a song.
Amazing.
And she's not saying much.
No, she's saying nothing, but you can feel the emotion in the track. I mean the whole album. I mean we're talking about here are records that you have to listen to the entire album. There's a lot of artists where you can pick and choose. Oh, I like that song. I don't like that one. This one's good. That one's bad. But when you're talking about like Pink Floyd, there are certain records where you literally have to put the needle on the record and just step back. Just let it play.
That's their whole catalog.
You have to play
their whole catalog. You can do that.
You can't pick and choose the tracks. You got to absorb the entire thing because it's a masterpiece. It literally is a masterpiece.
Yeah, it truly is. Another song that they have. I know we're gonna have to do this. Revisit this at another time. But I
didn't even pick any Pink Floyd stuff. I didn't pick any albums. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Have a Cigar is another one of those songs.
Yeah, Have a Cigar. Welcome to the Machine, dude.
That was way ahead of the time.
Welcome to the Machine. When I listen to that now, it's like leaving school, leaving college, and getting a job. That's what that song means to me. Welcome to the machine. You know,
You know what it means to me is welcome to the revolution.
the
Welcome,
revolution.
like right now, 2020, with
Uh
everything
huh.
that's going
Mm-hmm.
on, it's like, welcome to the machine, y'all. This is
This is it.
where everybody's almost waking up in a sense,
Uh huh.
It's, I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah. Welcome to the machine. All right. Who's next? Me or you? I can't remember. Is it
I
me or
think
you?
it's you. I went Willy Bobo. You're next.
Willy Bobo. All right. Okay. All right. Here's mine. Okay.
Well,
This.
well, splash me in the face with your next one.
Yeah, I got you right here, anyway. I'm gonna show you. Hey, calm down, mate. All right. So this is this next one. This next one is this is from one of my favorite bands of all time.
Hmm.
This is the first record that got me into them. This is Greetings from Timbuk 3, and this is another one of those bands that the main thing that got me into them was the name of the band.
Timbuk 3.
Right? Because look at Timbuk. We've all heard of Timbuk 2.
Yep.
This is Timbuk 3, and right, and I'm thinking, what a fucking work genius! You're just changing it to a number 3, but it's genius. It's like, my God, it's amazing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit. It's like, and this is their first album, Greetings from Timbuk 3. And once again, this is an original first edition, first pressing.
That's awesome.
Um,
When was it
and
released?
it even says, if you look in the corner right there, you can see that it says, "Made in England."
Oh, that's so nice. It's an import.
So this is an original album of Timbuk 3, and their biggest hit was "The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades," which is a great track and a great video. So I would suggest people check it out. But yeah, I have their entire discography now, and I love them all to death. And they would be considered also kind of folk rock. And
Okay.
I think
Okay.
you're probably seeing a trend here, the folk rock vibe.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So I like me some folk rock.
No, that's good, man. I mean,
I
that's
do.
one thing that's out right now that's really has made a resurgence, is that style of music.
Yeah, I
Is
love
if
it.
you
I
if
absolutely
you
love it.
there's you're hearing a lot of more psychedelic
Uh-huh.
rock again.
And
These garage bands, these folk rock
you can't call Gary Newman folk rock, but but
right. No,
but
right.
I love a bit of folk rock, me. I love
Yeah,
it.
man. That's the thing, is the music from over there is it's so incredible. The bands that have come out of the UK are just so
Uh-huh.
groundbreaking and innovative. Changed the way a lot of people
Well, one of
make
my
music. And that's so awesome. It's nice to see
one of my
that. Like,
one of my favorite quotes that I heard many years ago was that Americans invented rock and roll, but the British perfected it.
yeah, I've heard that.
You know.
Right.
So we'll leave it there.
Yeah, we're gonna move on.
Let's move on. What do you got next? Who's your
This
next
is a
one?
this is a really good fucking segue.
What you got? Let's see.
So my last record, it's another.
What do you mean your last? I thought we had 5. We gone through 5 already?
We've gone through 5 already, my friend.
Oh, it's a good thing I got 2 extra. Okay.
Yeah. We could run with the.
What you got?
But so this last one from my side, man, it means a lot because again, it was as a record given to me from my mom. I did unfortunately scratch up
No.
this original.
No.
It's so original that it's the album that she bought in Guatemala when it was released, and
wait? Is that a first pressing? Is that an original?
not only is it a first pressing original, well, it's a first pressing in Guatemala because everything's in Spanish.
Oh, dude. Oh my God, that's badass.
And
That is
yeah,
so awesome, dude. Oh my God.
yeah, that
Now
was
is
my
is that the one you scratched up, or is it good?
no, it's unfortunately scratched up. Your boy right here did a number on it when he was a young lad.
Ah.
I have since purchased it,
You will
for the
repent, repent,
for
repent, I say,
I
repent.
know, man, I know. Was one of the only albums that uh still plays is Black Sabbath. One of the ones that she gave me, a Super Tramp album that she gave
Uh-huh.
me, and then a couple of Rolling Stone albums. But yeah, this one and Queen, I unfortunately
Destroyed.
not destroyed, just fucked up a
Fucked
couple
it
of
up.
good.
Scratched
Yeah,
it up,
dude.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Well,
it's.
I mean, in your defense, when you're a kid, what
I was Vinny. I was Vinny. I was
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. You don't know, dude. When you're a kid, you don't have a fucking clue. You just,
Yeah,
you don't
I
know.
didn't know that we didn't have the right turntable
Uh-huh.
with the right needle, right? You needed a specific type of turntable, the Technique 1200,
Uh-huh.
with a specific need. At the time, you didn't have different needle options, so the stock needle that came with that is what was being utilized until other needles uh were created or developed for the turntable, but that wasn't what we had.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and I was, yeah, I was really, really dumb with it, and it's just like, and that's what it's funny because I think you and I spoke about this years ago. I showed you some pictures where my kid, he was pretty young and he was just holding a random record and
Uh-huh.
your eyes lit up like, what the fuck is he holding in his hands? And how did you just take a it was a video.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Oh, don't worry, that's a control disc for Serato." All of
Okay.
you record lovers out
Mm-hmm.
there, if you haven't heard
Right.
about Serato,
Right, right,
do a
right.
little bit, of research, find out
Yeah.
it's actually a really,
Because
really it's a really fucking cool
I
tool.
would
But
never
leave
ever
it at
let
that.
I don't let nobody touch my records, dude.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
nobody.
and so that's funny because I've actually had Vinny start to purchase his own, or I bought him his own. I bought him Into the Spider Verse, the Spider Man
Oh, right,
album,
right. Yeah,
because he
yeah.
loves that
He
album.
loves Spider-Man, right? He
Oh, he
loves
loves fucking Spider Man, and then
that's his deal,
oh
Spider-Man.
yeah, and then
Hmm.
of course the album that soundtrack was really, really good. I enjoyed it as well,
Uh-huh.
and so I got it for him, and I let him. That one was an import as well, mate. Um, yeah, it was imported from England actually.
From
No offense to any bloke out there.
from the
Just
UK.
yeah, it's just from Loaf.
From
Um,
Bloody.
and I let him play that record. Like I let him go ahead
But
and
you
pull
but
it
you
out.
but
I
you
watch him.
but you taught him how to hold it and put it down, and
I teach
he's not
him.
holding it like,
No,
he's
yeah,
he's so he's learning. He learned
exactly,
how to hold the
exactly,
record and put it on and all that good stuff. That's good.
exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got another one, or that's it?
No, that's it for me, my friend.
Okay. All right. So I got a couple of extras here that we could go through.
All right.
Let me see. So we'll do this one. This one is actually pretty rare. Um, this is you know the Police, right?
Oh yeah.
So this is Andy Summers, X, Y, and Z, or X, Y, and Z. Uh,
Oh,
so this was Andy Summers' first solo album,
that's
and
awesome.
it's on vinyl, on record, obviously.
That's
So
fucking
he
awesome.
made this like right at the cusp of when the Police were going to be breaking up, and here's the crazy thing about this record is
Yeah,
that it when did it come out? I don't even know. Let me see what the date is on this.
that was right before they got defunded, huh?
Yeah, exactly. This is 1987 is when this album came out,
That's awesome.
and it's never been released since.
Really?
It came out once in 1987, and I can't get in the back, and that was it.
Why?
I have no idea.
I wonder who owns the rights to
I
that.
don't know, but it only came out once, and here it is. Um, it's surprisingly good album. It's really good. I really enjoy listening to it.
I wonder,
Um,
is it on any streaming platform? Can I find it somewhere?
I don't know. It might be. I really don't know. It might be on streaming. The only thing that's messed up is the top of the. If you look at the top of the album right there, it's kind of messed
Mm.
up. But the vinyl itself, the record is pristine. The album itself is mint, but the cover is a little messed up. But yeah, so it was released once in 1987. And that was it. And it's a great record. Andy Summers, X, Y, and Z. So there's that one. Doing all like 80s shit, huh?
That's awesome, dude. That is so awesome.
Here's another one of my favorites. This is Thomas Dolby, The Golden Age of Wireless.
That see, unfortunately, what is it that that background that you have going on hasn't allowed me to see your covers that well, and that looks like it's a badass fucking cover. I could just tell by the colors
It's a great cover.
Yeah,
It's a
dude.
great cover. It's a great what's better than the cover is the record itself. So I don't know. Are you familiar with Thomas Dolby at all, or
No, I'm
so
not.
he was. This. When was this? When did this come out? This must have been like fucking. This was 1982.
Jesus, that's the year I was born.
Yeah, 1982. This is the album right here. 1982. Thomas Dolby, The Golden Age of Wireless. This also is a first pressing UK edition. And it's and I know this album is definitely on like Spotify or Apple Music and stuff like that. It's I want to say I want to say synth pop, but it's not really pop, but it's a lot of synths. But
Nice.
it's a great album. My favorite track on it is One of Our Submarines. So listeners or viewers, go ahead and seek out that song, Thomas Dolby, One of Our Submarines. It's an amazing track, and this is one of my favorite records. This is the
That's awesome.
Thomas Dolby.
We're gonna have to we'll post up the list. I'll send you the list. We can post it up for all the notes. So people could listen to those. A couple of really good classics out there from spanning from different decades,
different genres, different all over the map. That's the beauty of music, dude. And I've said this to my kids many times. Is like, it doesn't matter when a record was made. It's irrelevant. It's either good or it's not good or it's bad.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
Whether it's made, last week or 100 years ago.
Yep.
If it's good, it's good.
Yep.
So forget all this shit like, oh, that's old. That's old. No. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
All right. Same with movies, right? It doesn't matter when the movie was made. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. It doesn't matter if it was made 50 years ago or it just came out yesterday.
Yeah.
If it's good, it's good.
A perfect example of that, and a way you can really take the movie or the show and the music from it is Boardwalk Empire. That music is so old. It's the Prohibition era.
Yeah.
The 30s,
right?
Right. And when you hear it, when there's a good song. You know what I'm saying? When they play some of those old songs, you'll hear a couple of them. It's just like, Jesus, that song is amazing. And that was written back then. Right?
Yeah,
and they'll just play it though, because they'll have the sample rights to it, so they'll play it on the show. But like you said, a good song is a good song.
Totally.
It's gonna hold up in the 30s when it was made, and it's gonna hold up 10 years from then, 50 years from then, 100 years from then. It's just gonna be appreciated by a different person in a different age group. You just have to be a certain age, or you have to be able to hear that, be able to be open to those different genres.
What you find also though is that each time period, whether it's like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, it has its own specific sound.
Yeah.
There's a very particular sound. The way they recorded the music back then, the way they mixed it. and it has a very specific sound. Occasionally, you'll have records that'll come out in the '60s or the '70s or the '80s or whatever, and they're timeless.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And you when you listen to it, you're like, wow, this literally could have been. And like I said with the Lloyd Cole album,
Yep.
this could have been recorded last week. Even though it was recorded 35 years ago.
Right.
Because it's for some way the vibe just kind of clicks and it works. But every era they have put a man on the moon in this decade era. They have there's a specific sound, and the next record I'm going to show you has that specific sound, but the sound works in such a wonderful way that it's very, very listenable today. Very listenable. And I consider myself a Dylanologist. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't. I was going to ask, what is that?
It's a guy that examines assholes. No, it's a Dylanologist is somebody who is a fan that borderlines on obsession with this guy.
Bob Dylan.
This dude right here. This dude.
Man, he's written some great.
He's one of the greatest songwriters ever. This is a double album, two records.
Is the Hurricane on that?
No, that's not. That's on Desire.
Fucking love that album. That fucking song.
There's a great song. But this is let me put me on my big screen here. So this album right here, Blonde on Blonde. Mm-hmm. That's the right way you see it. That's the album. This is probably my most favorite Dylan album, and it's hard to say because I love all of his stuff, even his new stuff. but I particularly love this. This is like my favorite album. And I showed this to my daughter a while ago, and she was amazed at this record because this is the cover right here, and it's this way because here's the writing is right here, right? But if you do this, if I can do it, you get like...
Oh, that's cool.
You get the full deal of him standing there.
Yeah, you get the full lead.
The full guy. Yeah, there he is. And here's the inside, all the photos of him smoking cigarettes and all that stuff. This was the record that came right after he went electric. When they called him Judas, because this ties into the folk rock thing I was talking about earlier also.
Why do they call him Judas? Because he went electric?
Because he went electric.
That's you know what? That's a very... I was having this conversation just recently about how, as a fan, you're never going to be happy because you either want them to sound like they did on that one album, right? But then, do you really just want them to continue sounding like they do?
He was very much a part of the protest movement in the '60s.
Right.
He was a folk singer. So when you'd buy a record of his, it was just folk songs that he would write. He would write the songs, but it would be him, an acoustic guitar, and harmonica, and that's all it would be. And he had a massive fan base who when you would go see a Dylan concert in the early '60s, and he would start to play a song, you could hear a pin drop because there was absolute silence in the venue. Because everyone was literally hanging on his every word, listening to every note, every syllable, because they were so entranced by the lyric and the way he would play with words and mix things, and it was incredible. And then he did a concert in the Royal Albert Hall in London, and changed everything. The first half of the show was him being acoustic, and the second half he brought a band out with electric guitars and rocked the place.
That's badass.
And
That's badass.
mhm.
And then, and then he has a son that does the same thing.
Yeah, Jacob, right? Jacob Dylan.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was in
that's
what was it?
awesome.
The Wallflowers in the
Yeah,
90s, right?
man. Yeah.
One headlight.
One of the biggest.
One headlight.
It's a great song, dude.
Yeah, the
Great. That's a
Wallflowers.
great fucking song. That's one of those songs that will go down
In
in
history.
history. Yeah.
In infamy.
Yeah, it's like fucking
Yeah, boy.
like Hurricane. Oh,
Hurricane. This is the story of the hurricane.
dun, dun, dun,
True
dun.
story, dude, about the boxer, right?
Yeah.
The hurricane.
Yeah, it's a true story about the man the authorities came to blame
Came to blame, yeah.
for something that he
He's
never done.
Yeah, totally. It's great. It's a very powerful song.
It is. That's what's so fascinating about him. How, and anybody who can piece words together like that can be that impactful.
Let me
That's
give
awesome.
the people listening, if you are of the inclination and you have the time, fire up your streaming service of choice, for Apple Music, Spotify, whatever, and search for Bob Dylan. It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. And listen to that song, and you listen to the lyrics and the complexities and how he plays with words and ties them together. And I think you'll be impressed. It's a phenomenal song. Phenomenal.
Check it out.
Check it out, yo. The Funk Soul Brother. Check it out, yo.
Peep it out.
Yeah. Well, I think we're out of records, Percy.
My man, this was fun.
It was great. We should do it again next week. We'll pick some more eclectic tunes to discuss, more albums that we can pull out of our vast archive of obsolete media.
Yeah, I have I have a few
it.
actually. It's funny that how many I found going through this stuff. I was like,
yep.
Man, Jesus, I
a lot of stuff.
Forgot I even had this. I found Shaft in Africa. I forgot I had that record.
Shaft in Africa. Holy shit.
Yeah, I completely forgot I had that.
Richard Roundtree. Yeah, man.
Oh man, yeah. We'll definitely have to do this next week
let's do
to all y'all out there in video land. Stay safe. Be easy from your boy Block.
There you go. Well, thanks for watching Records We Love. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed us talking about some of the albums that we love. And we'll come back next week and we'll talk about some more albums that we love. Don't forget, if you liked it, I know this channel is new and there's only a couple of subscribers, so we'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to this channel. Click the little bell icon at the bottom so that when we do this next week, you'll be notified and you'll tune in and you'll watch me and Percy talking about these records and stuff. But until then, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Goodbye for now.